Dr. Kevin Scanlon, President and CEO of International Bioscience, has 30 years of experience and expertise enhancing the relationship among the life science community. Currently, he is mentoring and supporting entrepreneurs through the venture capital community on the executive committees of both the Pasadena Angels and the Tech Coast Angels. His talk this evening will focus on what investors look for in ventures and how angel investors can assist an early stage company financially and through mentoring. So let us welcome Dr. Kevin Scanlon.
Konnichiwa. Thank you for the invitation to come here. I know you've given up this night instead of Christmas shopping or holiday shopping. You're here to find out how investors invest in entrepreneurs. I used to lecture in medical schools and graduate schools, and I never liked starting off with negatives. But after 4 years and looking at probably several hundred companies, I think it's probably best to start with what the angel investor doesn't want to see. So you can take notes on this one. So I just wanted to get this slide out, and then after that I'll give you a more positive reinforcement in terms of what we encourage and what we like to see. So in the 4 years that I've been working with the Tech Coast Angels and the Pasadena Angels, these are probably the 10 red flags that we see when a company presents. And the first one is that there's a lack of excited customers. You know, why is your product better, faster, cheaper than what's on the market? And is that really, is the customer really going to want that? You may want it, but does the customer want it? The second biggest mistake that we see a lot of times is the management team may lack a certain level of expertise. Your mother does not qualify for the chief financial officer. So sometimes you get your best friend into the management team, and although he may be your best friend, he may not have the technical expertise to do the job to make the company successful. The third is usually a lack of expert endorsement, third-party validation. Can your product go out to a neutral party and validate it and demonstrate that it is valuable? We tend to see this a lot, a weak presentation. We brought someone in, one of the companies I was mentoring about 2 or 3 years ago. It was a woman. She had very strong experience in this domain. She had worked in the industry for 20 years. She was very, very smart. The day before she presented before the Angels, I spent 4 hours with her, hitting her with every possible question that they could come up with. And when you present before the Angels, you have about 15 to 20 minutes. You do about 15 slides, and then you have about 10 to 15 minutes of questions. She was so used to working in a major organization that when she came before the angel investors, she spent the 15 minutes on the first 2 slides. And it was just a disastrous presentation, and it just never worked. So sometimes we have problems when the people have domain experience, which is good, but they have it in a major corporation, and that experience doesn't necessarily translate to entrepreneur, startup, get the company up and going. So we see that transition very difficult. Another one of my favorites is a high valuation. Invariable, we will see an entrepreneur come with a concept and a pre-money valuation of $20 million with no sales, no stage of validation of the product. And that's just an unrealistic valuation. And so unless they can move off that, we will tend not to fund them or not even to review their program. The angel investors like intellectual property. The intellectual property has to be filed with the government. It doesn't have to be issued, but it has to be filed. Because that sort of puts a picket fence around your concept, defines the novelty of it, and is protectable. And so most business people will respect your intellectual property, both as filed and then issued. If you don't have it, then it's very hard for an angel investor to invest in your company. We have invested in companies that do not have intellectual property, but they have to have a very persuasive argument and first to market. And if they can't justify that, we tend not to go and invest in that company. Business models. A novel concept. We like to know how you're going to get the customers to come in and buy into it and how you don't lose erosion through competition. One of the things that we really fear, and we see a lot of, and that's why we tend to mentor entrepreneurs for a long time, is there's always a delay. We always are told in these next 18 months we're going to hit milestone A, B, C, and D. And invariably they come back 18 months later and say, we need more money to get to A. So we're a little gun shy when they set up the milestones. And we're a little bit more realistic than the entrepreneur. Won't get big enough. One of the big fears angel investors have is what we call a lifestyle company, where they can scale the sales of their product to $5 million or even $10 million, and the CEO gets a nice $1 million check every year, and he lives on that, and he says, well, why should I risk all the grief and aggravation to scale it to $100 million and lose control of the company? But the angel investor then does not get a good return on investment. So we've invested the money, we've mentored him, we've scaled the company, it's ready to be passed off to the venture capital community to scale and get it up to $50 or $100 million, and he doesn't want to do it. And that's a big risk to us if they want just what we call a lifestyle company. Yeah, and the last one usually is there's too much capital required. An angel investor takes a lot of risk because he's the first money in and he's the first one to get crammed down in the dilutions. Although we have anti-dilution clauses in our term sheets, we kind of try to protect ourselves because we're going in there, we have a lot of risk, we invest the money, we mentor, and then we pass it on to the venture capital. And we don't want to get diluted. And if it takes too much money to get that product to the market, then we're going to get diluted out and we're not going to get a return on investment. But I'll get into this more. So basically, when an entrepreneur comes to us, we're really looking for the painkiller drug. We're not looking for a vitamin. Vitamins are just not going to fly well with the angel investment community.